Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're going to be taking a look at Zoids Wild Blast Unleashed on the Nintendo Switch. Now, can this one do the series justice, or is this another case of a waste of a license? Well, that is what I'm here to find out, so hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. So story, and I gotta say here, we get a relatively extensive story mode. It takes place over 200 battles. I want to make this clear though, I know near to nothing about Zoids, but I do know this is a brand new story arc for the universe. Here you'll find Team Arashi and Team Dark Metal basically battling it out. Now during this confrontation, you'll discover a new subspecies of Zoid, and there the hunt for it begins. It's all largely an excuse to just see your favourite characters on screen, but there is some entertaining moments throughout. My favourite part of it all though, the fact it's all set on a world map and you can freely jump between different characters because each of them gets their own like story arc. Sadly though, I will say here, story presentation, it is given to us as simple still images, so you know, our pilots on their side with like text boxes, and that really is about it. Here the structure to it all really is select mission, see story segment, win fight, see like closing segment, and well yeah, repeat. The content though, I gotta say it seems solid enough and it kept things high level enough that I was able to jump into things without ever feeling too lost with no kind of like background knowledge. I just wish now they'd kind of full on animated it. So gameplay, and what we have here is a 3D arena brawler. Having looked online, there seems to be some love and hate towards the choice of genre for Zoids here. Many are calling back to games in the history of the series, and there's a whole lot of like shoutouts for an RPG. Well, honestly, for me, the genre, it makes sense. You know, they're giving us a big old mech and letting us go to battle, and yeah, I'm absolutely okay with that. It's not smart, nor is it overly taxing on the brain, but I'm gonna say up front, I had a lot more fun with this one than I was expecting, especially when the marketing they sent me advertised it as targeted towards 6 to 10-year-olds. This felt particularly like embarrassing when the game absolutely handed me my ass, so I headed back to the email to make sure I'd read that bit right. Controls though, they are simplistic, which, you know, makes sense, so don't go in here expecting complicated combos or anything of that like. The game is built for big flashy moves in a 1v1 format, which is, you know, traditional for this genre. A button press or two later and I had my side doing front flips, blades out and all sorts, and that's where the arena brawler format works so well to this source material, you know, just like two mechs going at each other. So here each character comes with their own unique moveset, each with its own like name as well, but for the sake of the video you get a heavy attack, a quick attack, a guard break and the dodge. That's all set to the face buttons, and then guard is the left trigger, and you'll also get a blast effect as well. For this you need to fill the meter in the top left corner. You do that, you tap both the right and left trigger together and away you go with like a temporary boost. That could be a power increase, a speed increase, or one of 4 others. In exhibition 1v1 matches you can actually choose your blast type. In story, expect this to be preset. The controls are solid, and the skill here actually comes in understanding what moves can be, you know, chained together for maximum damage. I like this because it means for an older audience they can kind of start to like figure things out, you know, what works best for each like roster member. For younger audiences, button mash away and expect some big moves in response. The idea though, the end goal always the same no matter the mode, deplete your opponent's health bar, and that is about it. It's kind of fist scroll action and it definitely delivers that. So while I do talk about roster, we have a total of 16 pilots on their sides to choose from, though 11 of these I will say are locked out at the beginning of the game. You're gonna need to beat the story to start to uncover these. Not 100% sold on this format personally. I like the idea, it drives some lasting appeal to the game, but I'm sure there's going to be like kids and adults who are going to be disappointed to see that their favourites initially are unavailable when all they want to do is, you know, jump into that local 2-player. So game modes, and here you'll see 3 on the menu. We get battle, which is simple 1v1 battles, either versus the computer or a local friend. If you're wondering before I keep going here, there is no online play, which may be a deal breaker for some of you out there, and it does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity. For these exhibition matches though, you can mess with a few settings too, so think the number of rounds, the time limit, and then of course a difficulty setting. This actually works on a 0 to 5 scale and basically goes from the enemy's going to stand completely still like a punching bag just for practice, to like 5, which is I'm not only going to destroy you, but you will barely get a swing in there. Alongside this standard mode then, we do get continuous battle. Here you will fight it out against 7 foes, each with 2 rounds each, and see whether you can go the distance. Just know between rounds your health does restore. This mode's actually quite a bit more interesting than I expected. Not only do they attach like a small story element to it all for each of the 7 2-round battles, but also between fights it gives you the choice to choose a boost. Here you could put in place, let's say, a temporary boost to your strength for that next battle. This all then builds into a high score which is recorded, and you can either fight to top it or, you know, compete with your friends. No online leaderboard, so just to clarify that point. Finally, the biggest mode of them all though, and the majority of the package here, story mode. Here you will find roughly 200 different battles to work your way through. No choice in who you control, instead you will follow a particular storyline. For example, you're going to kick things off with Arashi, but after that first fight you can choose then to jump to, let's say, Drake's story path instead. It's actually a fun system that occasionally throws some opponents at you that you won't see in the main roster of the game, or even some challenges like beat 10 Velociraptor like sides in a row, and yes, I have no idea what they're called. This though is pretty lengthy stuff, and I think fans will have a lot of fun here because I enjoyed it as it dialed up the challenge with progression, and it constantly rewarded me with something, whether it was a new unlocked fighter or something for the gallery. You'll find this on the main menu. Here you'll be collecting things like data on the sides, music, small snippets of the included dialogue, and even an extensive gallery. That's really it for modes. The only other things are practice mode, but I will say, like continuous battle, they've actually attached small story segments here. Kind of brings a little bit of entertainment to what can like normally be very dry information. The only real issues I have here, and I have 3 of them. First, I'm not sold on forcing people to play story to get the full roster. Sometimes you buy a game like this just to play it in multiplayer only, so it's a bit of a pain in that scenario. Then the lack of online play seems like a simple idea and a serious miss for the game. You know, Zoids has fans of all ages, so I think you need to cater to that. Finally, there's something called stun in battle. Every heavy hit that lands stuns you for like a second. I don't mind it, but sometimes it was a pain because when my opponent was stunned I couldn't land a hit, and it just kind of slows the pace of the combat down just, you know, a tiny bit. Would have liked to have seen this as an option and not something that must be there. Overall though, like honestly, didn't go into this one with high expectations, and I've actually now walked away with an appreciation for like these characters. I want to dig in and learn more about past games, and what I thought would be, you know, a quick playthrough lasting no longer than maybe 4 or 5 hours, I actually dove in for a lot longer for that extensive story mode. Now I just wish the combat had a few extra options to keep the pace up, and there was some sort of online, because then I could genuinely see myself returning to this one when I just kind of wanted to shut off my brain and beat down on some mechs. So graphically speaking, really love the general design of the sides, the characters. The cel-shaded art style suits the game stunningly, and looking at pieces from the series and everything else, it does look like they've done a good job of representing, you know, this cast of 16. Everything here though in the design just looks nice and sharp, and then it's also accompanied with some small 2D images. These sit either next to your health bar, and occasionally they do flash up on screen like mid-battle. Really like this, especially the one that accompanies you activating Wild Blast. Each of the sides then also comes with 4 different skins. You'll be unlocking these again through story mode if you want to mix things up. These sides though obviously wouldn't mean anything without arenas, and here we're getting 14, and while I do think they go with the desert vibe just a little bit too much, or like rock formations, generally I think they are decent enough, if a little sparse. The only thing I think they miss here with the arenas is kind of capturing the true size of these beasts. Every arena is pretty huge, but they're also kind of empty, so I think if they'd packed it with more stuff, it would just give you kind of more a sense of the scale. Outside of this, visually then finally we do get story, and I appreciate they went for a new story arc never before seen, but this means we're simply relying on characters and text boxes with no access to, you know, the source material, and I don't think they really do the story justice, especially when you factor in like how many clips they could have probably used if they had instead just told a fan favourite story arc. Overall, look, it's a good looking game, no question about that, and again, fans should be impressed. It captures the flashy and your truly like overpowered status. Audio then, and it's nothing you wouldn't expect. You know, attack sounds for our sides carry weight, the associated sound like each makes, like, you know, think roars and so on, the occasional bit of dialogue from our lead characters that for sure get repetitive during the battles. They seem to say the same thing over and over again, and then some decent enough music that's pretty low on the volume side when you boot things up, so it shouldn't get too repetitive. Audio wise, they did exactly what you would expect. I just wish they had voice acted out the story instead of relying on reading from text boxes. Another reason why maybe a story arc from the show would have been wiser, because they could have just stolen all the clips. Instead, occasionally though, they might say one word or huff and that is about it. Still, look though, audio wise, it's not bad. So overall, Zoids Wild Blast Unleashed has surprised me. It's not that I went in with low expectations, it's just I didn't expect it to be for me. Knew nothing of this world or these characters, and that normally puts you in, a challenging position. Instead though, I've walked away, as I said, with this newfound appreciation and some level of curiosity of what I'm missing out on. It's been around a long time, so it's clearly doing something right. I know for many this will not be the use of the license they wanted to see, the simplistic 3D brawler, but honestly it works. There's very few scenarios quite as gratifying as watching two mechs brawl it out, and this makes it simplistic enough that kids will no doubt enjoy it, but adults can pick it up too and have fun, or at least I know I did. Today I'm giving Zoids Wild Blast Unleashed a good 7 out of 10. The big miss is for me the lack of any sort of online play, a weird stun function that's a little too frequent in battle and slows things down, gonna need to get used to that, and then the story, just its presentation. It's a sizable story arc that just isn't done justice, and it doesn't feel like the characters are truly brought to life. With that said though, you know what? Perhaps the price tag explains that, as it is coming in under a AAA price point, so respect for at least pricing things fairly. So will you be adding this one to your collection? How much did my lack of Zoids lore annoy you? Like the way I didn't use any names mostly? Yes, that is because I would have butchered them. With that though, like a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I have linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.